Hey, movie lovers, this is Leo.
Mike.
And Kevin from Films and Fermentation.
If you love comedy, movies, and a good drink in hand, then you need to check out the PodNation Media Network.
It's home to a variety of amazing podcasts covering everything from pulp culture to history and, of course, movies like ours.
And the best part, PodNation Media Network is featured on Roku, so you can stream your favorite podcasts anytime.
Alongside Films and Fermentation, you'll find other fantastic shows like the KJ&A podcast, The Undiscovered Entrepreneur, Real Sharks, and so many more.
So grab a drink, press play, and join the fun with PodNation Media Network.
Because everything's better with a little comedy, movies, and booze.
Learn more by going to linktree.com/PodNationPods.
Films and fermentation, movies and inebriation with films and fermentation, comedy mixed with tasty libation. Films and fermentation with Leo, Kevman, and Mike.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Films and Fermentation, episode 185. Episode 185. Don't adjust your settings. This is just how I sound tonight. So tonight we're looking at, since it's the 50th anniversary of Saturday Night Live this year, we're looking at the movies based on Saturday Night Live skits. So tonight is 50 years of Saturday Night Live movies. Again, we are Films and Fermentation, a movie and alcohol podcast, number one pop culture and number one beer podcast on Good Pods. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
We're the three friends that talk shit about movies while getting shit-faced. In this episode, we appreciate the good, tolerate the bad, and try to forget the ugly. That's SNL movie adaptations, that is. From comedy gold like Wayne's World to the cinematic crimes against humanity that were It's Pat and Superstar, we're diving into the wild world of Saturday Night Live on the big screen. Some of these films were party time, excellent, while others made us want to walk out of the plane we were watching them on. So grab a drink, because much like SNL skits, some of these movies really needed better endings. So let's break it down. Live from PodNation, it's Thursday night. Having too much fun with the AI music program.
I don't know. I'm thinking about it. Maybe we should have done this as a live broadcast.
Yeah, right. Don't forget, you can drop us an email at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com or visit linktree.com/filmsandfermentation to find all of our social media and podcast links. Become part of the Films and Fermentation family. We are now part of the PodNation Media Network on Roku. We are an independent podcast, which means we are listener supported. So please consider joining our Patreon for as little as $1 a month to receive members-only content. That's right. For limited time, for a $1 donation, Mike will perform his version of Andy Kaufman lip-syncing to the Mighty Mouse theme song. Go to patreon.com/films and fermentation or purchase our merchandise at teespring.com. You can text us as well at 904-867-4466. That's 904-867-4466. I got two quick shout-outs to make before we get to the rest of the thing tonight. So last week we did our year in review episode for 1985, and I asked people on social media to comment on what their favorite movies were. One listener, Mike Bruno 52882, sent us a comment about the movies he liked, and then sent us another comment this week about that episode. So I thought I'd read that to you guys tonight.
All right.
From Mike Bruno 52882 wrote, I enjoyed the episode, especially the part during the shout-outs when your co-host belched as my name was being mentioned.
That's
It was
me.
Kevin.
That's me.
And so I'm sure he was laughing about it because he does have a laughing face emoji at the end of the comment. And I wrote him back afterwards. We aim to please. Thank you for listening. So again, Mike,
belch your name out.
yeah, I would
could
try that tonight if my throat didn't hurt so much right now. But so here's a double shout out to Mike Bruno 52882 on Threads. Thank you for all the comments and for listening to the show. I got one other shout out for tonight. We got our first text message on the official text line.
Oh,
Now I've been saving up some comments and things that have been coming in through email and social media for a mailbag episode. I said I want to do later on. This one was too good not to share. So the text line comes to my phone.
Yes.
Through a hosted number. So it's not my number that you're texting, but I get, the messages sent to my phone. There was no caller ID on this, so I don't know the person's name, and they didn't identify themselves in the text. So it's an anonymous text, but it came through. It's our first text message. And it said, and I quote, enjoy the show for the most part. Just wish the host would shut the fuck up once in a while and let the other two guys get a word in edgewise.
We've been trying that for 185 episodes.
So I don't know.
And you say that was anonymous, right? That didn't come
It
through.
was anonymous.
There was no caller ID that came through.
No, there was no caller ID on that. They didn't identify themselves.
I guess we'll never know who it was, but they are insightful.
Yes, they said I need to shut the fuck up and let you guys talk some more. Well, two things. One, you might be getting your wish tonight because I'm losing my voice. So at some point, somebody might have to take over. And secondly, go fuck yourself. I started this show. It was my idea. I do most of the work for it.
That is true.
I will talk if I want to.
He talks the parts he puts in. We talk the parts we put in.
Yeah, I asked them for their insight. I don't, it's. I also watched so many goddamn movies. The other night I watched.
I'm very shy. I mean,
yeah,
Kevin's just across, but I'm very reserved.
Kevin is just here to
shell.
Kevin's just here for the ladies. That's giving them something to look at.
Kevin just brings the pretty.
This brings the pretty. Now, we all have our strengths.
And I'm the
Mine
one
is that
fondled every time somebody spends $1 on us. So
yeah. Kevin brings it pretty. Mike gets abused.
Yep.
And I talk a lot because it's just my way. I'm sorry.
Just remember,
if anybody else out there thinks I talk too much and thinks the other guy should do more work,
text us now at 904-867-4466.
elderly abuse is a crime.
Mike
Don't
would know.
forget to fax us too.
Yeah, send us your faxes at 215. All right. So, what are we drinking this evening?
I have a theme drink if you'd like me to go first.
Yeah, go for it.
Go for it.
All right. Should I let you guys guess? It is based off of not a Saturday Night Live movie, but a skit.
Landshark.
Okay.
Yeah.
Landshark.
Landshark.
Is it champagne?
It's not champagne. I will let you know that, I'm feeling a little verklempt.
Okay.
I think you should talk amongst yourselves, and I'll give you a topic. The radical reconstruction of the South after the Civil War was neither radical nor a reconstruction. Discuss.
You really want to get on a soapbox on this? You don't want to.
So what does Mike Myers usually drink in those skits?
Well, those skits are called Coffee Talk.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I have an Irish coffee.
Very good.
Spiked with Jameson and Bailey's.
Nice.
You did it wrong. Today was National Kahlua Day.
Yeah.
Well,
Are you drinking Kahlua?
No.
Okay, then don't talk.
No. He said,
I have to stop talking. Hold on, I'm gonna turn my mic off and let you take it from here, Mike. Go for it. I seriously just turned my mic off. You can't leave it at dead air. You got to do something.
No, that was a joke. I know tonight I am drinking Old Smoky Moonshine Mountain Rita moonshine cocktail, 9% alcohol by volume. It's tasty.
All right. So I was originally going to go with a themed drink. I was going to do in honor of Blues Brothers. I was going to make an orange whip because of that scene with John Candy with the cops at the end. Orange whip, orange whip, orange whip. But A, I got home a little late tonight, so I didn't really have a chance to do that. And B, with the head cold I'm having right now, I thought maybe a hot drink would be better too. So I'm also drinking something warm this evening. I'm drinking a hot chocolate spiked with some chocolate liqueur. So it's just like a double chocolate hit.
I didn't get the memo there was a hot beverage night, guys. God damn.
I wasn't planning on a hot beverage night. I was planning on an orange whip.
I was thinking of Saturday Night Live. Obviously, not the movies. The movies don't have anything or any drinks associated with them, not to my recollection at least. But the show, I mean, you said champagne. I was like, oh, I could do champagne.
Shark.
Could have did a Sam Jackson beer.
Sam Jackson beer. I could have done Land Shark. I forgot all about Land Shark being a skit in the 70s.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Sam Jackson beer was from the Chappelle show. That was the Chappelle show, not SNL.
And then I thought, Mike Myers was probably one of the funnier characters or actors on the show, and I thought, he did quite a bit, and I could do the coffee talk with Linda. Why can't I think of her name? Or the character's name, Linda.
I know her first name was Linda. I can't think.
Linda Richmond. Does that sound about right? Linda Richmond
sounds right. Linda Richmond. It sounds right.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, the Holy Roman Empire was neither holy nor Roman nor an empire. Discuss. That was always one of my favorite ones.
Did Truman drop the bomb on the Japanese to end the war or to scare the hell out of the Russians? Discuss.
Like butter. It was like butter.
Like butter.
All right, we're already getting off the rails, so let's try to get ourselves a little bit back on track here.
This week in film history with Mike. This week in film history with Mike.
Well, since I put the first two on there, normally I would read them since I contributed that to the thing, but since I talk too much.
Well, so I was going to go, since Kevin has more to add to the first one, let Kevin do the first one.
I agree. Kevin, go ahead. Take it.
Sure. Today, unfortunately, two-time Oscar winner and Hollywood legend Gene Hackman passed away. He was 95. Poor Gene. I actually got a couple text messages from my brother because my brother and I really enjoy Gene Hackman in movies. And my brother's first text to me this morning shouted out, he said, "Lex Luthor is dead. Rest in peace to one of the greatest villains ever who ever knelt before Zod." And he followed it up with, "Rest in peace to the Royal Tannenbaum, for real this time." He went on to chime in with a little bit of fun facts about Hackman, that he was in the same acting class as Dustin Hoffman and Robert Duvall, and all three were nominated least likely to succeed. It's kind of shocking. Shocking.
Those are text messages as only your brother could construct them.
Yes, and I am happy to see that he actually knows how to use text messages, because I very rarely get anything from him. So when they do come in, I'm eager to respond and be like, wow, this must be really important. Megan and I today were talking about, I was bringing up the conversation as Gene Hackman and movies, that really good roles that he was in that were unappreciated or kind of forgotten. And I remembered Crimson Tide was one of my favorites.
Oh, that's a good one.
That one with Denzel Washington and the fight for control of the submarine. That's one of my favorites.
I think my favorite Hackman movie is Hoosiers.
Hoosiers is a great
really
one.
good too. Yeah,
Hoosiers is a great one. I love him in Unforgiven.
Mhm.
He won the Oscar for
great
Unforgiven,
villain for that. Yeah,
and he won the Oscar for French Connection. Both excellent movies.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I really liked him. I mean, it's not a great movie, but it's a comfort watch for me. But I really like him as the football coach in The Replacements. I think it's not a great movie, but
Mhm.
something about him screams like old school football coach.
Right.
It's like you took the guy from Hoosiers and put him on a football field, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
that's
liked
the
him
shame.
in Birdcage and Mississippi Burning. Two things on opposite ends of the
I was gonna say,
spectrum.
like, I don't. Yeah, those two wouldn't really come up in the same conversation for me. But
No. But he was great in both of those roles.
Oh yeah.
I love the Birdcage. The Birdcage one's great.
Mhm.
Like, that's such a, especially the end when he has to dress in drag.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's such a departure for him.
Yeah.
But we all know our most favorite role of his was in Young Frankenstein.
I thought you were going to say Lex Luthor. I mean, I did love him
Honestly,
as Lex Luthor.
my film appreciation class right now, and if any of them are listening, I'd be very surprised. And they're going to get an answer to one of the questions on the film.
Maybe
announcement.
maybe that's who texted me. It was one of your kids.
Maybe. One of the extra credit questions is the actor who went uncredited in the role, who played the blind old hermit, just passed away today. Who was he? So we'll have to see if they recognize that it was Gene Hackman.
But I do agree with Mike. Like, that is one of my favorite Hackman roles of all
Yeah.
time. Is the blind guy.
Where are you going?
I'm gonna make espresso. Oh, I should have made an espresso tonight in honor of Gene Hackman. Yeah, but I when you sent that text, forwarded that text from Matt, I read it and I'm like, yeah, that's I couldn't word that any better than Matt.
Yeah.
Like, Matt, that's a Matt text.
Mhm.
Got to get your brother on the show one night. He'd probably be a fun.
I think he would. I think if we found a topic that he would be tickled to chime in on, Monty Python, perhaps.
We should have had him on the Monty Python episode.
Yeah, I think he'd have a good time.
Yeah. Now, sadly, that is not the only terrible news this week.
No.
Michelle Trachtenberg, actress best known for playing Buffy's little sister on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, also of the films Euro Trip and the Gossip Girl TV show, passed away this week as well. She was 39 years old.
That's tragic.
Yeah, I know. Like they said, it was another one in the article where they said it wasn't foul play.
No, it was. She had a kidney transplant.
Liver.
A liver. Yeah.
Liver transplant. Yeah, and
her body rejected it.
Yeah, so it was like a natural causes thing, but that's a shame. 39 years old. So,
Yeah, way too young.
And going back to the Gene Hackman thing too, like that's a weird one too. Like I can't wait to find out like what they conclude from the investigation, because to me, with him, his wife, and the dog all dying at the same time, I assumed the carbon monoxide.
That's what Megan and I thought too. When they had limited information, and they're like, all three were dead, and it seems like it's been for a while. And I was like, well, yeah, if there was gas in the house and they couldn't smell it,
with the carbon monoxide, like you would feel sleepy, and you probably go to sleep thinking you were just sleepy, and then pass away in your sleep.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah, it's scary. I said it's a shame you live to be 95 years old and your house kills you.
Yeah.
We'll see. I don't know. I have to wait till the investigation's done, I guess.
Yep.
What's the next one you got there, Mike?
In 1969, the film The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie, based on the novel by Morel Spark, directed by Ronald Neiman, and starring Maggie Smith, Academy Award Best Actress, premieres in London.
Yep, and I think we talked about that a little bit too, because Maggie Smith passed away this year as well, and
yes,
we had mentioned that a couple episodes back. I was all right. Do the next one because I actually looked up some info about this earlier.
In 1983, the final TV episode of MASH, a 2-hour special directed by series star Alan Alda, titled "Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen," airs. CBS record 125 million watched in the U.S.
And I'd known for the longest time that was the most watched TV episode of all time.
Mhm.
of like all TV. And so I looked it up earlier because when I saw this today, I was like, oh, I got to see if that's still the case. And aside from if you don't include Super Bowls and the moon landing in 1969,
Yeah.
it's
News
still
event.
the most watched TV episode of all time.
Oh wow.
Like, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
I wouldn't include sport events or news events.
No.
Mhm. No, that's what the article I read said. It said if you exclude those things, it's still the most watched TV episode of all time. That's amazing.
Can you remember the final scene? Like what you
Mhm.
see?
Oh, trust me, dude. I watched MASH so much. It's my favorite TV show of all time.
Right. It's the
And so I
helicopter
have
taking off
yeah,
with
hell-
the word
taking
goodbye.
off, goodbye written in rocks.
Hmm.
I can tell you what happens to all the characters, man. I've watched MASH so many times, especially the
Mhm.
final episode. I love it. It's my favorite show of all time. This is Mike's favorite fact to have to read.
Yeah, begrudgingly I put it in. 1996, American film production company Happy Madison Productions is founded by Adam Sandler.
And world peace was achieved.
I think it's one of the more not productive production companies, but lucrative, I guess, production companies when you consider he's gotten into television. I think his production company was for he used it for Everybody Hates Chris. He's used it for the Goldbergs. You know,
A lot
he's
of his
done
own
it for
films.
his own films, his friends' films. You know, Kevin, what's his name?
James.
Kevin James probably wouldn't be able to get in some of the movies he was in without him.
Have you guys seen? I know Mike hasn't seen them, but the Grown Ups films.
I saw the first one. I don't think
So I've seen both of them, and it's just funny because like I watch those movies and I'm like, it's basically Adam Sandler getting all of his best friends together and filming them going on vacation. I think almost every Adam Sandler film is like him going on vacation and filming it because he's done Hawaii, he's been in Africa.
Yep.
And the last one you got there, Mike.
In 2019, Captain Marvel, film directed by Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck, starring Brie Larson and Samuel L. Jackson, premieres.
And world peace is achieved.
I liked the movie. It was a good movie.
Yeah,
It
I
was
think
well done.
I don't think it was as bad as some people give it a bad rap, but I don't think it was pretty good.
I thought it was okay. I mean, it's not going to beat out Civil War. It's not going to beat out, the original Iron Man movie. It's definitely not going to beat out Thor or Ragnarok.
But it will beat out every DC movie out there.
It'll beat out what? Every DC movie out there? I'm just going
I
to
would say,
say
like,
coffee.
It did what a lot of the other films in the MCU did was it was introducing you to a character that was going to be pivotal in the Infinity War films.
It introduced
So, I
you.
mean,
They gave you a little background of this and that. So
yeah, a little background on Shield and all that stuff.
Mhm.
But yeah, I didn't think it was that bad. It was better than the Marvels.
Yeah.
Mike, do you have any must-try beer or craft destination for us this evening?
you didn't let me do my outro. What the hell?
I'm sorry, dude. I'm really sick right now, man. Like I'm hanging on right now.
Yes, I have a.
I'm sorry. I talk too much. I don't know what else to do.
Yeah, I know. Okay, you just keep on going.
I'm turning my mic off again. Take it.
I have a crash destination in Minnesota. Shirley Brewing Company. Shirley is one of the most respected craft breweries in the U.S., serving a revolving menu of regular beers, seasonals, and special on tap and in cans. They have a company store for merchandise and a full-service restaurant on the premises, and they also offer tours through the brew house, fermentation cellar, and the packaging facility. Tours include samples of the tasting deck and a souvenir glass. There's also plenty of space for outdoor games after you've had lunch or dinner at the beer hall. Put that on the list.
It's on the road trip list. So it is written, so it shall be.
Let it be done.
Kevin's here, he's here for beer. He's got
Would you like to buy some Girl Scout cookies?
No.
Big Timber releasing limited time thick mint beer. This is out of Elkins, West Virginia. Thick Mint, a new beer from Big Timber Brewing, inspired by the Girl Scouts Thin Mint cookie, is expected to appear on store shelves soon, according to a brewery spokesperson. This 11.2 alcohol by volume pastry stout was announced on the brewery's Facebook page last week and is aged with cocoa nibs, vanilla beans, and coffee with added natural mint, according to the Post. Big Timber sales manager Jared Ray said this very, very limited release is already available at Big Timber Taproom in Elkins and will begin appearing in local stores and other specialty beverage shops over the upcoming days. Unlike most other Big Timber beers, Thick Mint will be available in single cans instead of the usual 4-pack customers are used to. The beer will not be distributed to big retailers like Kroger's or Walmart and can instead be found in the local liquor stores like Every Day's a Party in Morgantown. This sounds like a beer I want to try, guys.
Hey.
I mean, I know
Thin Mints are my favorite Girl Scout cookies, so I would definitely drink a beer that was supposed to be like Thin Mint related.
Yeah, I gave you that peppermint pastry stout over the holidays that you were, you kind of dug.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Mike? Do you think you'd give it a go?
Yeah, I'd give it a try.
Yeah.
Speaking of your segment, Kev,
Mm-hmm.
you were ahead of the curve because I saw it on Facebook that Target would not give Tom Holland his beer. You beat Facebook to the punch.
I'm telling you, man, to be a good reporter, you have to be there. You have to be there before everybody else gets there. The fact that I take my information from everybody else's work is benign. It doesn't matter. The fact that I'm reporting it before they do, that's what counts.
Exactly.
I honestly thought you were kidding about that story last week until you started reading the article.
I read the Facebook post to my wife, and she goes, "Why do you need ID for non-alcoholic
beer?"
Mm-hmm. That was our question too.
It's a question for the ages.
Especially if you're Tom Holland. Who denies
Tom
Holland his own beer?
Like, they didn't know who he was? Like, come on.
Moving on.
Just turned away Spider-Man.
Well, no, he's Spider-Man. He's a high school kid. He's too young.
Moving on to sports and beer, which go hand in hand. They're like meat and potatoes, peanut butter and jelly. We have the Oklahoma condemning fans for throwing a beer can at a Kentucky player, and they are now working to identify the culprit.
I have a couple questions on that already.
Okay, let me get through the story, and we'll save our questions till the end.
Okay.
After a heated ending to the Kentucky's 83-82 win over Oklahoma on Wednesday, a Sooners fan threw a beer can at the Wildcats as they walked back towards their locker room. The can narrowly missed Kentucky forward Brandon Garrison's head. On Thursday, Oklahoma Athletics released a statement regarding the incident. We are aware of an incident that occurred following last night's men's basketball contest against Kentucky involving the throwing of a beverage can toward a player. The statement read, "We are closely reviewing all available footage and are working to identify the involved parties. We are also in communication with the Southeastern Conference. Anyone with information regarding the incident should provide that by emailing oah@ou.edu. The University of Oklahoma does not in any way condone this type of fan behavior, and it will not be tolerated. We will take appropriate and necessary actions against anyone who conducts themselves in such a manner. We apologize to the University of Kentucky players, coaches, and fans." It was a back-and-forth game between the two teams. Kentucky guard Otego Owa, who transferred to UK ahead of this season after spending 2 years with the Sooners, scored 21 of the Wildcats' final 23 points to lead the team to victory. His stunning performance was capped off by a game-winning finish in traffic with 6 seconds left. Oklahoma freshman Jeremiah Fears drove the ball down the court, but his shot was blocked, and Kentucky escaped Norman with a victory. As soon as the buzzer sounded, Garrison turned toward Fears and seemingly began to verbally berate him. Kentucky center Amari Williams pulled Garrison away, but the officiating crew reviewed the footage to ensure that Garrison hadn't committed a technical foul before the clock had run out. The officials ruled Garrison hadn't begun the heated exchange with Fears until after the game was over. The two teams didn't shake hands after the game as Garrison and several Oklahoma players were trying to fight with one another. Oklahoma fans showed disdain for Kentucky after the game by booing the Wildcats. Obviously, one fan took it too far by hurling a can at the team. Following the win, Brandon Garrison explained his side of the events. Just me being back home, they tried to get up under my skin from right when I got in the game. But, things got a little chippy at the end, Garrison said. But, it's just basketball, nothing more, nothing less. It's just part of it. My emotions got a little high when I got the block and realized we got the win. So, Mike.
So, here's my question now. So, was it a full beer? If it was a full beer, could it just be one of his boys from Oklahoma giving him a congratulational beer? You know.
Are you thinking like
He went to Oklahoma first.
Yeah.
It could have been one of his boys.
Who's the Eagles recruiter that got nailed in the forehead with the beer during the Super Bowl parade?
That's Howie.
Howie, right?
Howie.
Now, we understand somebody was just trying to pass him a beer and he missed the beer.
Yeah.
Was that the same scenario? Is that what we're looking at here? Or was this disdain and anger? Inquiring minds want to know. I guess I have to find the culprit first.
Yeah. I mean, it could have been one of his boys.
Could have been. Could have been.
My question is, if a fan throws a beer at a football game, was that really news?
Yes, but this was a basketball game.
This was a basketball game, man.
You know what I mean?
Totally different arena.
Yeah.
Man throws a beer at a sporting event. I was trying not to talk too much during that segment. Did I do okay?
Yeah, you did fine.
You did all right. Now you've heard that they're also throwing beers at pickleball games too, right?
What has the world come to?
All right. My wife just walked in the room and handed me a handful of cough drops.
Nice.
I'm assuming she's hearing me from the other room right now. All right. All right. For our main segment this evening, as I said at the beginning, we're looking at SNL movies, Saturday Night Live movies, in honor of its 50th year anniversary this year. And we're doing this in a ranking system, but I would like everybody out there to know that we are not the persons or people who ranked these films. This is the ranking of the top SNL movies.
We're not ranked.
Yeah, we didn't rank this. It's 11 films. These are all 11 movies, all based on Saturday Night Live skits. And it's ranked by Rotten Tomatoes. And Rotten Tomatoes does their ranking system based on the critic scores. So I have the critic score here and the viewer scores. I'll read them both. But the rankings are based solely on what the critics had to say about the films. I'll mention the film. We'll talk about it a little bit. And then I have some reviews that I culled from Rotten Tomatoes for our entertainment tonight. And because I didn't feel like having to edit anything out for copyright, there are no film clips tonight. I only have pictures. Make my life a little easier. Oh, I wanted to tell you guys, we had an episode pulled from Spotify recently for copyright infringement. So I got an email the other day about it. No, I looked at it and I was like, all right, let's see what this is. And it was episode 54, I want to say. It was our Badass Women of Cinema. And I'm like, wow, what did this get pulled for? I don't know what the copyright was on there. So I watched it on YouTube and I was like, there was nothing in the YouTube video that gave me any indication. Mm-hmm. So I looked it up on Good Pods because it's still there. And there was a song that I sampled at the beginning of the episode. and I'm thinking that's why it got pulled. So part of me is like, well, that's a pain in the ass. I got to go back and edit this old episode in order to get it back on Spotify. But another part of me was like, wow, it's nice to know somebody's listening to the older episodes.
So is that the way that works? It had to be reported for Spotify to notice?
It was third party. It was third party reported. So somebody heard it and reported us for it. So fortunately, we don't have that problem anymore now because all of our music is now original music that is created by AI. So
we're going to get sued by AI.
We're going to get sued by ChatGPT. So anyway, getting ourselves back on track, we are looking at movies from Saturday Night Live skits, 50 years of SNL movies. The good, the bad, and the ugly. So the good. There are only two movies that I think fell under the good category because they were both certified fresh based on Rotten Tomatoes scores. The first movie, number one, according to the Rotten Tomatoes rankings, is... What are you doing? I thought you were doing the skit from Wayne's World where they were doing all the sponsor things.
Did you hear that?
Yes, I did. So I thought you were doing the Wayne's World skit where they're talking about the sponsors and he keeps holding shit up like.
I don't want to sell out, man.
Yeah. New brand, little, yellow, different.
Bird Gang.
Bird Gang. So the first movie on the list is Wayne's World from 1992. The critics on Rotten Tomatoes gave this a 79% score. I was shocked by that.
I would have given it a little bit more, just a little bit. It was good at the time.
It is. I think it's still good. I mean, it doesn't hold up too well because it's a very 90s movie, but I still think it's an enjoyable film to watch. The music's great. It's got a great soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, that totally relaunched Queen.
Yeah.
You know?
Bohemian Rhapsody went to number 2 on the charts after the release of Wayne's World. But like, you have Queen there. There's Alice Cooper. You have the band that Tia Carrera sings with in the movie, the Crucial Taunt. Like, even they're fun to listen to. Like, it's a good soundtrack. It has a high viewer score. The viewer score is 84%.
Yeah,
good.
So I mean, it has a high viewer score. I'm going by the critic score for the ranking. The critics gave it 79%. For anybody who's not familiar with Wayne's World, if you're watching us on YouTube or on Roku on the PodNation Media Network, there's a picture of the Wayne's World movie poster. You have Wayne Campbell, played by Mike Myers, and Garth Algar, played by Dana Carvey.
And they would broadcast a show from Wayne's basement, you know.
Like we're doing now.
Yeah.
Mike's in his basement. And Kevin's in his second floor office. Mike's in his basement, and I'm in my room that's a converted garage.
and that's Katie's storage room right now.
Yeah, right now it's half storage room, half my room. What's the best part of Wayne's World to you?
Oh,
for me,
I want to say the ex-girlfriend that he keeps running into.
Oh,
Stacey.
That's
Laura Flynn Boyle.
Yeah, it's
Laura Flynn Boyle, and you know he's desperately trying to push her away. It's like, you got me a gun rack for my car. I don't even own a gun, you know,
let alone the necessity for a rack.
He sees her out in the street riding a bike. She's got a neck brace on, and she's waving, and she just goes head over heels off the bike over a car. She's a hot mess.
I like any scene where Garth is the focal point.
The Garth and the Kim Basinger connection.
Kim Basinger was the second movie.
No, wasn't she in the first one?
Kim Basinger was the second movie. The first movie, can't remember the actress's name, but she's married to Dan Aykroyd. I know that.
That's the scene I like. Was that it's the slow mo. It's dreamy.
Foxy lady. I think the car scene is the most recognizable, or the most iconic from the movie. You know, the drunk guy in the middle of the two others. And,
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
go ahead.
I like the scene where they're laying on the car and they're at the airport and they're watching the planes fly overhead, and they're just laying on the car talking, and he's like, "Did you ever find Bugs Bunny attractive when he dresses like a woman?" And Wayne's like, "No," and he's like, "Me neither." Yeah, the Bohemian Rhapsody is definitely the most famous scene. It's Chris Farley's first screen appearance.
Oh, that's right.
His very first movie. He's the bouncer that knows everything.
Yeah. What's the name?
Meatloaf was in it.
That's playing Shitty Beatles. Are they any good? They suck. So it's not.
Oh, so it's not just a clever name. Or what's it? He's like, you speak Cantonese, and you're ordering Chinese food, and he's like, "What would you like, Wayne?" And he's like, "I'll take cream of some young guy." Here's what I remember, because this came out in '92, so I would have been, oh god, probably like a freshman or sophomore in high school. Mike was already collecting AARP.
Bitch. I graduated.
Were you? I was gonna say, were you in Germany at this point?
No, I graduated in '93.
Okay, so you were junior in high school then.
Yeah,
this came out. Yeah, I was probably a freshman or sophomore, and what I remember is after seeing it, I saw it in the theater, and it was just like everything was a quote after that. Like my friends and I would just, Wayne's World was just everything after that. You know, we would use swing all the time. We would say, game on, time out, game on. Yeah, we used to do shit all the time for the movie. Yeah, Wayne's World is great. 79%, critic score 84%, viewer score. Here's what some reviewers had to say on Rotten Tomatoes. I have one positive review and one negative review for each of these movies, and I tried to pick the ones that I thought were the best. So the positive review is from a viewer named David N. His review is, "Our family loved the Saturday Night Live spinoff, and it reminded me of the early days." 5 stars. And I can't disagree with that.
Except it's early. You say early days, and I'm always thinking that's not early days.
Well, for him, maybe he was a '90s kid, you know. I mean, I was.
Not everybody was there for the premiere, Michael.
Yeah. I mean, I was there for. I saw this in the theater. I was 13 or 14, so I mean, it's kind of early days. The negative review comes from Joe Pollock of the St. Louis Dispatch. So this is a actual critic review. "Lots of tasteless jokes and no need to pay attention. If you miss a punchline, don't worry. It'll be back again in 10 minutes or so."
Well, that's SNL in general.
Yeah, I don't want to argue.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's any recurring skit.
If you're looking for
Landshark.
upper class comedic, performances, you're not getting it from Mike Myers and Dana Carvey.
Like, this isn't highbrow comedy.
No.
Yeah. So number 2 on the list is my favorite SNL skit turned into a movie. "I'm on a mission from God."
We're on a mission from God.
It is 1980s Blues Brothers.
We got
my movie poster up. There's the Blues Brothers right there. Iconic suits, sunglasses.
Jake and Elwood.
That cool ass car. It has a 71% critic score and a 92% viewer score.
Wow.
Low.
So if we were going by viewer rankings, this would be number 1. But it is not viewer rankings. Again, we are going by critic rankings, which makes it number 2 at 71%. Again, is this a movie that holds up today?
Yeah, you can enjoy it today.
I mean, I can enjoy it. I don't know if modern audiences would get a kick out of it like I do, but it's my favorite SNL movie.
I think modern audiences, based on what I've seen from my film appreciation class, they don't want music in their movies anymore, so they would snub the musical numbers. And the musical numbers are some of the best parts of the movie.
Oh, especially the rawhide scene.
That is a great scene. This is one of the boys' favorites, and they start singing "Stand by Your Man."
There are two white guys out there. One wants 4 whole fried chicken
and a Diet Coke. And the other one wants 2 pieces of white toast dry. Elwood. My favorite quote is, of course, it's 106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses.
That should have been the tagline for the movie.
Which runs just slightly ahead of how much for the women? How much for the little girls?
We got to see that.
Can you name? There's a very special cameo in that restaurant scene. You know who the waiter was?
George Carlin.
Yeah, right. That'd be funny. It is a very young Paul Rubens, better known as Pee Wee Herman. He's the waiter. He's the waiter in that restaurant scene. How much for the women? Great movie, and like you said, Kev, great musical, and it's a musical with familiar songs. You know, it's all famous songs and stuff. But my favorite, now the Aretha Franklin scene is an amazing scene.
The respect
in that the James Brown scene's a fun scene. My favorite one is the end when Cab Calloway comes out and sings "Minnie the Moocher."
Yeah. My favorite is Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, Carrie, she's great in the film.
Kind of girlfriend everybody's aiming for. Literally aiming for.
And then she gives up anyway at the end because Jake gives her the sad eyes. What's the other one? The Chicago Nazis. And this, the car falling from like 3,000 feet at the end, and
no, and it couldn't be a good movie without the gratuitous car chase scenes.
Car
chase scenes amazing. Yeah. It was the most expensive car chase scene in the history of film until, like, I guess the Fast and Furious series came out or something. But it was such an expensive scene to film. I think they destroyed something like 50 cop cars in that scene.
You have to figure out at some point, just to make it cheaper, you don't want to actually put an engine in there. So you just want to, like, a large slingshot to pull back and throw the cars into the pile. You know, save the money on
the car that John Candy's in the car with the 2 police officers, and they crash into the truck, and they're in the back of the truck or whatever, and he gets on the radio and he's like, "Yeah, hi, this is car. What number are we? 55. This is car 55. We're in a truck." Orange whip, orange whip, orange whip. 3 orange whips. John Candy's great. It's one of the movies too. It's like there's so many cameos too. I forget like how many people are in that film. So you have like all the people who come out and sing, like Aretha Franklin, James Brown, Carrie Fisher, of course, Twiggy, the 70s model who was Dan Aykroyd's, love interest in the film, I guess that you want to call her that. I'm forgetting somebody. There was one that popped in my head just now, and I forgot what it was already.
Jim Brown, I think, was in it.
Was Jim Brown in it? I don't think so. I'm trying to think of there's like some cameos that are not song related either, and I'm trying to think of some of those. Ray Charles is in it. That's one of the singing scenes. The little kid in the Ray Charles scene where they're in the music store and they're like robbing him of all the shit.
Right.
There's a kid that comes in and the kid tries to steal a guitar and Ray Charles shoots a gun at him.
Yeah,
he tells him to get out. You know who that kid is?
No.
That kid would grow up to be Argyle, the limo driver in Die Hard.
Oh, really? Carl Weathers?
Carl Weathers.
Oh, no, wait. The limo driver in what movie?
Die Hard.
Argyle. The little kid is Argyle. I don't know the actor's name, but he grew up to be Argyle.
I was thinking of Carl Weathers, who's the cop. My bad.
Oh no, you're thinking no. Carl Weathers is is the actor from Rocky who played Apollo Creed.
Yeah.
You're thinking of Carl Winslow.
That's it, Carl Winslow.
There's a character he played in Family Matters. That's Reginald Bill Johnson as the actor. We're going on all kinds of tangents right now. Let's move on here. Here are the Blues Brothers reviews that I pulled from Rotten Tomatoes. Again, it was a 71% critic score and a 92% viewer score. The positive review that I pulled is from Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune, from Siskel and Ebert. He loved the movie. He said The Blues Brothers is the year's best film to date. One of the all-time great comedies. Probably the best movie ever made in Chicago. All are true, and boy, is that ever a surprise. It must have been early in 1980 because there were a lot of movies that came out that year that were really good.
Yeah.
The negative review I got is from a viewer named
From
Mark
Ebert.
W. Yeah, no, Ebert actually liked the movie too. Mark W. on Rotten Tomatoes says, scene after scene of pointless drivel, nothing engaging, interesting, or funny ever happens. It's like a bizarre dream, uncomfortably benign, impossible to relate to any of the characters. Just a weird, prolonged acting out of essentially nothing except a couple of guys wearing trademark sunglasses and hats. Half a star out of 5. That was Mark W. on Rotten Tomatoes. I want to say, Mark, it's okay. You can find somebody to talk to, get a hug. It'll all be all right. My man has some needs.
I want to say,
what? Yeah, my man has some needs. He must be the guy that texted us.
yeah.
So those were the good. That's the only good. The rest is the bad. The bad is anything under 70% critic score, and that's basically everything else on this list. So number 3 on the list, 1993's Wayne's World 2. This is one of those quick to production films. Wayne's World 2 came out less than a year after Wayne's World. So it's kind of like, we made a lot of money on Wayne's World. Let's throw something into production really quick. And the result is 60% critic score and 64% viewer score. I saw Wayne's World 2 once, I want to say.
I think that's more than I saw it. I maybe got halfway through it.
I think I saw it once just because, I like Wayne's World so much. I didn't see it in the theater. I remember watching it at home. But, yeah, it wasn't great. I couldn't even quote anything from it for you. All I remember is they're trying to put a concert together or something. I don't even remember who the band was.
No recollection.
I have no recollection of the film. So I might as well just go right to the reviews for it. The one positive review I was able to find for it is from Malcolm Johnson of the Hartford Courant, which is a newspaper. There is something weirdly droll about the further misadventures of two lovable dropouts, Wayne and Garth. That was the best positive review I could find.
Wow.
The negative review comes from JH. It's a viewer review. He gave it a half a star out of 5. If you've ever wondered why the sequel is so bad, read the Wikipedia article on it. Mike Myers is not a smart person. I wasn't sure what that meant, so I looked up the Wikipedia article. And apparently, Mike Myers had a different idea for the story in mind and pitched it to the studio, and they started building sets and getting things ready for it. And then it was right before they were ready to start filming that it came to light that the script that he wrote was an adaptation of a film from the 50s that he was a fan of. He didn't mention this to the studio. So when they realized this, they didn't have rights to do the adaptation of that film, and therefore had to tear down all the sets and everything that they had already built. And then they basically had to throw together a script and start filming because they had already paid for the production. All right. Next one on the bad list, number 4, is MacGruber, which came out in 2010. Stars Will Arnett. It is a 47% critic score and a 34% audience score. It is only one of 2 SNL movies that are rated R. The other one is Blues Brothers.
Hmm.
This is rated R because it's a very violent film. So this is one of those, like, that person who said how things reoccur. This is a reoccurring skit on SNL. It starred Will Arnett and Kristen Wiig, and he's like a MacGyver ripoff.
Yeah.
Like bumbling MacGyver ripoff. And the film just, stretched it out. It's not that bad a movie. I didn't know too much about the character going into it because I wasn't like watching SNL a lot at the time. But I will say this: Val Kilmer's in it. He's pretty good. I think it's like the last role Val Kilmer had before he lost his ability to speak.
Oh, like what you said before, it's like it's a skit that they just stretched out. That's how I feel with most of the movies from here on down.
Oh yeah, I you know what it is you had the Blues Brothers came out in 1980, and they didn't make another SNL skit turn movie until Wayne's World in 92.
Right.
So there was a 12-year stretch where there were no SNL movies, and then Wayne's World did so well that they were like, all right, let's make a movie out of everything. Because if you look at the list, most of these movies came out in the 90s.
Yeah.
So it was all like on the heels of Wayne's World. MacGruber is probably the most recent one on this list, I want to say.
Yeah,
it's the most recent one and didn't do well in the box office, which is probably why they haven't done another, SNL film in a while. or anything.
Though you would think they would have done well with that one since it was 10 years since the one before.
Yeah, I know, right? But it was also like you went with a character that was like kind of popular on SNL, but I don't think popular enough to make a movie out of it. There were other skits that were more popular than this one. Not
Celebrity
that they would have made
Jeopardy.
Celebrity
They could have
Jeopardy.
done an entire movie on Celebrity Jeopardy. I would have
loved an entire movie of Daryl Hammond doing Sean Connery. I was thinking like
titties for 500 Alex.
Ape disease. That's appetites, Mr. Connery. I'll take anal bum cover for 400. That's an album cover, Mr. Connery.
Buckwheat sings the hits. Looking for Robin.
Oh, Buckwheat. Yeah, it's a Buckwheat movie. There were other skits that are better than MacGruber that could have been a movie. Again, it's weird though that the critics gave it a higher score than the audience did. That very rarely happens for movies on Rotten Tomatoes. The positive review that I found is a Rotten Tomato consensus. So this is basically a consensus of all the Rotten Tomatoes critics. It too often mistakes shock value for real humor, but MacGruber is better than many SNL films and better than it probably should be. The negative review I found is from Anthony Quinn of the UK Independent. Kristen Wiig lends it a bit of class as the hero's Moll, Vicky St. Elmo, but Forte is a pain, the scatological crudity is unrelenting, and the air of pointlessness is unignorable.
Wow. There's some big words there, buddy.
Yeah. He basically called it a piece of shit. If you need a simpler review.
You know what? Just be simple and plain about it. Say it's a piece of shit.
I mean, I think he wanted to call Will Forte a pain in the ass and just stopped at the word pain. But the next one is a travesty that should never have existed. It is Blues Brothers 2000.
And 1998.
1998, yeah. Blues Brothers 2000 from 1998.
So you know what you do when one of the most popular character dies, and you're still trying to revive a franchise. You throw a bunch of others in there who won't fit the role, and then just expect it to do quite as well.
I never understood why they didn't just not that he would be not that he would be a replacement for John Belushi.
Get Jim.
But bring Jim Belushi in.
Jim in.
He could sing. And I mean, he's John Belushi's brother. And it doesn't have to be Jake Blues. It could be like another brother he didn't know existed.
Yeah. That could be the movie.
Yeah, it would make sense.
A
A cousin, whatever.
anything.
And look, don't
Instead,
get me
he
wrong.
got
I'm a John Goodman fan. I
Yeah.
love him. I think he's very bluesy and jazzy, and him stepping in alone could have been okay. It
mhm,
was the addition of the cop. It was the addition of the
the little
kid.
kid.
It's the late '90s, so a little kid has to be thrown into every movie from
Mhm.
Jurassic Park over. So
And like even the songs were not all that inspired. I feel like I remember there's like a Blues Traveler song in there somewhere. But yeah, I mean, just it should have just been left alone.
yeah.
I don't think it was necessary. Hold on.
Gesundheit.
Yeah, I'm trying not to sneeze into the mic. Best positive review I could find is from Chris B. Viewer review. Gave it 5 out of 5 stars.
What?
Classic music. Yeah, classic music. Classic players. Don't knock the music. Like the first. No real storyline, but love the music. He basically gave it 5 out of 5 stars for the soundtrack.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wonder if you like the music.
Speaking of the sound,
He'd be really impressed with Muppets from Outer Space.
actually, like Muppets from Outer Space.
I like Muppets from Outer Space.
Not the
too.
best
I like
movie, but
Muppets, it's got an awesome
the worst Muppets movie is like the worst slice of pizza. You could still enjoy it. The negative review, if you like the soundtrack, you'll like the negative review from Dan DiNicola of the Daily Gazette in New York. Skip the film and buy the soundtrack. The next one, what are you gonna say, Mike?
That's what you did in the 80s is buy the soundtrack.
That's a lot of movies in the 80s. Yeah, buy the soundtrack. Yeah. Number 6 on the list, I think is the closest to actually being a film that almost worked. You wouldn't know it by the scores, but
it was about 20 years too late.
Yeah, about 20 years too late. This should have been the follow-up to the Blues Brothers movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Consider this as like a 70s, 80s skit. It's Coneheads from 1993. 37% critic score, 38% viewer score. Starring Dan Aykroyd, Jane Curtin. Chris Farley has a big role in this film. I don't remember the actress who plays the daughter.
Looking it up.
What's her
I'll
name?
let you know in just a moment.
Kimberly Williams.
No, it
No,
was
she was
Bonnie.
a
No,
daughter.
not Bonnie Turner. Was it Bonnie Turner?
Didn't they double down on this and make it a cartoon series?
No, I don't
the
think
cartoon series was before the movie because I think the cartoon series was following the Saturday Night Live skit itself. I think it was like an 80s cartoon.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, don't quote me on that, but I think it might be. The daughter is played by.
I'm telling you, man. I'm looking it
Boy,
up now, and she's not even on the top billing.
I know she's like so far down. I'm like, where the frig is she?
I want to say her name was Connie Conehead was played by Michelle Burke.
Michelle Burke. Okay,
Mhm.
her name's familiar. I don't remember other movies.
Michelle Burke has had such good movies as Dazed and Confused, Major League 2,
Oh,
LOL.
alrighty. So Coneheads is basically her
Claim to fame.
her Casablanca.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't got much to say about Coneheads. It, like Mike said, it's about 20 years too late.
Yeah.
This is definitely like the film that probably should have followed up Blues Brothers in the early 80s. Positive review from this user's name on Rotten Tomatoes is the Monoxide Child. It was a charming film. The comedy can be hit or miss if it's not your taste, but it's not a bad movie by any means. 4.5 out of 5 stars. And then as far as negative reviews go, James Baradinelli of RealViews.com wrote, I expected stupid humor, silly humor, and bizarre humor. What I didn't expect was no humor at all.
Yeah.
That's the kind of expertise you get from a real journalist. Oh, wait, now we get to the ugly.
Oh, God.
I will say this. of all the films on the list of uglies, I have
I've
seen part of one.
Zero.
Yeah, I had zero interest in any of these films when they came out. So this is a rarity for me where I say I haven't seen any of these movies, but I have not seen number 7, Superstar.
Nope.
Again, a 5-minute SNL skit that they tried to stretch out into an hour-and-a-half movie that had no right to be a movie. 32% Rotten Tomatoes critic score, 59% user score. Where the fuck did that come from? Like, how did that get a higher score than Blues Brothers 2000? Even I think that's kind of weird.
The
That's
people
for the
that
Will
grew up
Ferrell
watching-
fans out there.
It's the ones that grew up watching that part of SNL.
You know, it's Molly Shannon's family. Positive review. This movie manages to have more touching and hilarious moments than most schlock comedies could hope for. Jim Shelby of the Palo Alto Daily. The negative review is, this is one of the best negative reviews I've ever read. The user's name is just H, the letter H. There's no full name. The negative review goes, I've seen John Holmes era pornography with better storylines.
Wow. Man.
Don't knock John Holmes, man. He was a legend. Next one, Stewart saves his family. This is the daily affirmations with Stuart Smiley segment from Saturday Night Live.
I'm good enough, smart enough,
enough.
darn it,
Gosh
people
darn it,
like
people like me. Well, they didn't like your movie. It was 30% critic score, 53% audience score. Another high audience score. This film came out in 1995. This was a skit that didn't even have like a storyline to it. At least some of the SNL skits, like Superstar, it kind of had a plot. Like, she was this girl in a Catholic boarding school who just wanted to be famous. So it had like a plot to it. Stewart was just a guy looking in a mirror affirming himself.
with the guest of whatever the week was, you know?
Yeah, and that was it. Like the guy who played Stewart, I can't think of his name right now.
What's his name? The politician.
He's a senator. He's a senator now.
Norm Macdonald. No, not Norm Macdonald.
Norm Macdonald.
No.
Al Franken.
Al Franken. I was
Al
close.
Franken, because he's a senator now.
He was. He stepped down.
Yeah, but he was not like a cast member, like full time. He was a writer on the show, and this was the only skit he did. And it's like, you know, oh God, are you ready for this positive review from an anonymous viewer on Rotten Tomatoes? Well written, directed, and acted. Truly an underrated flick. Funny with a lot of heart. I'll take your word for it. I have no intention of watching it. Yeah, that'd be Al Franken who wrote it. Joe Leadon of Variety writes, it isn't good enough, it isn't smart enough, and doggone it, most people ain't going to like this. This guy, Joe Leadon of Variety, I have him a couple times on the lower part of this list. Next one is The Ladies' Man from 2000. 11% critic score, 42% user score. This is a skit based on a man who just says Cavassier a lot. I don't. I honestly didn't even know this movie existed.
I knew the movie existed. I know it's not Tim Robbins. Is it Tim Robbins?
Tim Meadows.
Tim Meadows. Who does the character and did the character, and I know it's like a call-in show or something. He's a radio host, and I think the funnier parts are the parts that are like Black Dynamite, where people are calling in saying, "My mom said that she was with you about 14 years ago," and he's like, "All right, little kid, you gotta go away."
Yeah, like I remember the skit. I remember it kind of being fun. I remember one time The Rock was the guest host, and he came on The Ladies' Man as like the Ladies' Man's brother or something, and was like doing the same character Tim Meadows was doing, and it was funny. Not funny enough to be a movie. At least as far as I know. I haven't seen it. So
The Rock to do the movie.
Yeah, right. He does everything else. Sean L on Rotten Tomatoes gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Said vastly underrated, easily top 5 comedy of the 2000s. Better than the skits on SNL. Absolute must see. Okay.
I'm going to slap him.
Negative review comes from Mike Keena of themoviereport.com. Just when you thought you couldn't get any worse, Saturday Night Live based movie hits hit a new low. The next one on the list, number 10. This is the only one I've seen a piece of. I've seen parts of it. I think I watched the scene and then was like, all right, I'm good. I don't have to see the rest of it. Because it's a skit. It's a movie based on a skit about two guys dancing at a nightclub, trying to pick up girls and failing at it. It's Will Ferrell and Chris Kattan in A Night at the Roxbury from 1998. 11% critic score, 69% audience score. I think it's ironic based on the topic that it got a 69% viewer score. Yeah, all I know is just two guys bopping their heads back and forth while "Baby Don't Hurt Me" plays on the radio. Baby, don't hurt me no more. Here it is. And you can see, I think this is the only scene I've seen in the movie is this first one here with Chris Kattan holding the radio up.
Well, I haven't seen that movie.
I know you haven't seen it, but that was a little spoof of the Say Anything scene with John Cusack. Yeah. Esmeralda A on Rotten Tomatoes gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Said this was such a great movie. I'm not sure why the critics gave it such a low score.
Will Ferrell was in it. That's all you need to know. That's why. Oh, sorry.
And then here's your negative review. Eric Lenzio of the Greenwich Village Gazette wrote, "Crap!" with 3 exclamation points. That was the critic review. And then we get to the last one on the list. It's Pat. 1994. 0% critic score.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
29% audience score. There's only a short list of movies on Rotten Tomatoes that have a 0% critic score, and this is one of them.
They advertised the shit out of that movie.
Yeah, I do remember seeing the trailer all the time. Again, for a one-note skit about a person that nobody knows if they're male or female, about an androgynous character.
Mm-hmm.
A movie that I think probably wouldn't be able to get made nowadays, given gender identity and politics. But yeah, man, it's like a one-note trick, and I've never seen the movie. I don't know if they reveal at the end whether it's a guy or a girl. It's I don't have
post-credit scene.
Post-credit scene where her dick pops out. I don't know. I have no idea.
You know what? The movie they should have made was Hans and Franz.
Hans and Franz. I would have liked one of my favorite characters from modern Saturday Night Live was Bill Hader doing Stefan on the Weekend Update. I would have liked to see a Stefan movie.
Think about it. Their movie could have been them trying to buy a gym and actually do stuff.
You could have had Arnold Schwarzenegger doing a cameo in it, and that would have been awesome.
It has a plot.
We also know it's Kevin Nealon and Dana Carvey, so at least it would have been probably at least a little funny.
Exactly.
So for It's Pat, here's your positive review from Desiree C on Rotten Tomatoes. Gave it 5 out of 5 stars. This was my all-time movie for decades. I rented it from Blockbuster so many times as a child that they eventually sought me out to sell me their copy when they closed.
Oh my God.
It's hysterical, star-studded, absurd, and heartfelt. This is a masterpiece film, and I would recommend it to anyone. What she failed to mention in that review is it's the only movie she's ever seen.
Apparently.
And the negative review comes from my friend Joe Leadon at Variety Magazine again. Ever hear that one about the picture that was too bad to be released, it had to escape on its own? Well, that old joke now has a new punchline. It's Pat, a shockingly unfunny Saturday Night Live spinoff.
Wow.
Yeah, that's bad, man. That's so bad. So I threw in a couple honorable mentions here that are SNL adjacent. One is the Austin Powers franchise, which only came about for one reason. Mike Myers was supposed to do a film based on his Dieter character in Sprockets. Now is the time we dance. But they couldn't get a script together that he liked, and so the studio eventually scrapped it. And instead, he wrote the Austin Powers character and did that movie instead, which I think was a better move.
Mm-hmm.
So the Austin Powers franchise, the 3 films that came out, their average critic score was 60%, and the average viewer score was 64%, and that's only because it got lower with each film.
Yeah.
The first movie was like somewhere in like the mid 70s to 80s for critic and viewer, and then it just got lower from there. And then the dishonorable mention goes to Dana Carvey's film, The Master of the Skies.
Turtle.
Yeah, I have that picture right here. Turtle. Am I not turtly enough for the Turtle Club? This got a 1% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow.
34%. So I give it the dishonorable mention because the Dr. Evil character in Austin Powers was based on an impression of Lorne Michaels, the creator of SNL. And apparently it was an impression that Dana Carvey used to do that Mike Myers stole from him and did in Austin Powers, because Dana Carvey was supposed to play Dr. Evil, but Mike Myers decided he was going to play it himself. And so Dana Carvey and Mike Myers had not talked to each other for almost 30 years. They only recently meet up with each other. Yeah. And he did The Master of Disguise as sort of like his Austin Powers, but it was nowhere near as funny and nowhere near as popular. So that is that. Anyway, Mike, you have any beer trivia or history for us this evening?
I do. Before the Greeks inhabited the Mediterranean island of Crete, the local Minoan population, named after their mythical king Minos, were said to have made beer. This supposition, thank you, is based on the discovery.
A lot of fucking bells.
Yeah, no shit. After I've been drinking too. Discovery of 2 storage jars that were found in Mitros, a southern settlement dating to 2200 BCE, that contained traces of barley residue.
All right. We have a cinema quote this week.
We do.
Honesty isn't enough for me. That becomes very boring. If you can convince people what you're doing is real and it's also bigger than life, now that's exciting. That's from Gene Hackman. Rest in peace, Gene.
Rest in peace, Gene. I know. And again, like so many iconic roles in films that he was in. And, you know, he's been retired for 20 years now, too, which is, you know, when you think about it, I think his last movie was with Ray Romano. It was called Welcome to Mooseport.
Oh.
That was his last movie. So thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight for episode 185, 50 Years of SNL Cinema. We hope you enjoyed listening to the podcast as much as we enjoyed recording it for you, and hopefully I didn't talk too much.
Shut the hell up, Leo.
I don't want to upset too many people out there. Don't forget to drop us an email, filmsoffermentation@gmail.com, or visit linktree.com/filmsoffermentation. Find all of our social media podcast links. You can watch us on the PodNation Media Network on Roku or on YouTube if you'd like to watch us and see how pretty our faces are. Again, you can support us at patreon.com/filmsoffermentation or buy merchandise at teespring.com or send messages to 904-867-4466. And again, please send in your comments, your questions, your suggestions, whatever. We're going to be doing a mailbag episode in a little while, and I would like to have some, comments we can read on air. Nice. Don't forget to stop by the Crossroads and Pickle and Fermented next time around for episode 186. As of the recording of this episode, in a couple days, the Oscars will be happening. Even though I haven't watched many of the films this year, like I normally do, I'm still going to watch the Oscars because I have a feeling that this year is going to be one of those years where something happens that you got to talk about.
Somebody getting slapped across the face?
Yeah, I have that feeling in my body that something's going to happen. So I'm calling this next episode the 2025 Oscars Aftermath. So we're going to be doing a little aftermath episode about the Oscars. And you should also turn into that episode because it's going to be the second annual Fermi Awards the awards that the Oscars are too afraid to give out.
Mm.
And guys, I came up with some extra special categories this year for that.
Man to women, women
Woman
to man.
to man, penis to vagina. That's definitely getting best song for the Fermi Awards. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
This has been the Films of Fermentation podcast. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.